Uganda Eyenkya.
I'll join you in the argument that this matter should have ended in earnest, should have ended yesterday. In fact, if the Minister of Internal Affairs tells me that the missing 18 are in the Parliamentary compound, I will seize ground and guarantee them, and we end it there and then.
Unfortunately, our Parliamentary compound is not a detention center, so ours is for parking our cars.
Definitely, Right Honourable Speaker, I'm alive to that. But as a matter of surrender, if he did so, I would go and embrace them and seize this ground. I thank you for the patience and everyone enjoying in this, Right Honourable Speaker. I understand the fact that the House is stressed over this matter, but even the nation is even more stressed, Right Honourable Speaker. The very reason this House of Parliament will find every reason to end this matter in a manner that the public does expect us to end it, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, before I delve into my response to the Minister's statement, I wish to state and remind ourselves of the role and duty of the legislature in situations like these. Right Honourable Speaker, Parliament, through its legislative mandate, molds the legal framework and shields the rights of every citizen, ensuring that the most vulnerable among us are protected and nurtured. Parliament, as the embodiment of the collective will of the people, brings human rights to reality. Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues, we must make it clear to everyone that our walkout and break from plenary activities was triggered by the continued indolence of government to address the most pressing and transgressing issues that affect our people and undermine their worth and dignity. That is something we couldn't withstand in an environment where our people's concerns are not prioritized. We demand answers, accountability, action taken, redress for the violations, Right Honourable Speaker. The government should take full responsibility for its citizens as espoused in the international and national legal frameworks to which we subscribe, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, like the previous statements on the issue, the government has again taken a defensive approach to matters in which it is supposed to take a lead role in investigating and finding redress to the public outcry. It is not right and proper, Right Honourable Speaker, for the government to merely dismiss issues summarily without giving due regard to the overwhelming evidence presented at various fora. Besides the condescending style and language used in the Minister's speech, Right Honourable Speaker, we have found his statement to be extremely disparaging, detached, and frosty to the victims and their respective families. It should stand rejected in its inadequate stance, Right Honourable Speaker. With a view to keeping our focus on substantive issues, I will not respond to the assertions that are apparently intended to divert us, Right Honourable Speaker. On another day, we shall indulge in the figures and rankings of our country on an international scale in as far as human rights are concerned. That's not for today. As for now, let us first discuss the issues of disappearances and arbitrary killings in which the government is not only implicated, but has also failed to conduct and present to the public comprehensive findings. I hope in that regard, the Minister will be proud that the 18 missing persons are isolated incidents, not warranting state intervention. Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues, I'm sure most of us were here at the return of multi-party politics in Uganda. I can certainly state that it was never the decision of the ruling government to reverse the movement system. It was the decision of the people. And this did not come on a silver platter. Most of us are not strangers to these processes. I know for a fact, like most of us do, that this has never dawned on the ruling party that other political parties and actors deserve space or even a right to advance their ideas and philosophies. Right, Honourable Speaker, back to the human rights concerns we raised vis-a-vis the minister's statement. I must state at the earliest that no response was made to the issues we raised. The minister's statement was purely a political narrative, instead of giving the country detailed and specific account of missing persons and remedy to their families. I would particularize the issues, right, Honourable Speaker, with their attendant titles. 1. Failure to conduct investigations. Right, Honourable Speaker and colleagues, throughout the web of denials in the minister's response, the most evident and striking attribute painted thereon is that no investigations were conducted at all. We are saddened by government's inaction in the face of these gross violations. Yet time is fast running. The victims continue reeling and harrowing in pain, despair, agony, and anguish. Clearly, if we continue with this lethargic approach, we will not get any answer from this numb and unresponsive government. That Honourable Speaker.
Munsi buli omu alina ekirooto kuba kuwaguza kulafuubana n'okulemerako okutuuka ku buwanguzi. Ddala wamma ggwe luba lunaku mulindwa okyasobeddwa ekane mu kibira nga weebuuza omuntu omutuufu anaakutuusa ku makula g'ebirooto byo oba okooye kuferebwa. Kankwanjulire aba Brand Pro Property Services Limited abeegulidde erinnya mu kutuukiriza ebirooto by'abantu ebyekuusa ku ttaka. Bagula wamu n'okutunda ettaka n'amayumba ku buli luguudo lwa Uganda wamu n'okwetooloola ensi yonna mu mawanga agatali gamu nga USA, India wamu ne Bungereza. Tulina estates eziwedde okuzimbibwa. Gano makula bukula weegulire ennyumba ey'ekirooto kyo olwaleero ku bbeeyi esoboka. Naawe anoonyeza okupangisa tuzirina ng'ate tusobola n'okukulaakulanya ettaka, amayumba oba estates zo ne zeegombesa buli muntu. Oyagala saveya oba olina ekizibu kyonna nga kyekuusa ku ttaka, bitukwase g'osirike. Tusangibwa ku MT House ku mwaliiro ogusooka Room 5 ewazana ku Entebbe Road okuliraana ekizimbe kya Muguluma Empire. Osobola okutukubira oba okutuweereza obubaka ku WhatsApp namba zaffe noti 773 2 5 noti oba noti 703 824 noti 79 ne ku website www.brandpro.co.ug. ate mwe bankuba kyeyo ebyammwe byateredde anti osobola okugula poloti oba okufuna ennyumba n'okomawo nga buli kimu kiri malidaadi saana. Sebatuka abafera olwaleero ng'okolagana ne Brand Pro Property Services Limited tutuukiriza birooto.
I will demonstrate subsequently
Order for what? Pardon?
Right,
Yeah.
right, Honourable Speaker. You, in your communication, you actually made it clear about the conduct of members. It's the right, Honourable colleague, the leader of opposition, right to call that the government is actually numb and unresponsive. I don't think we are numb, and yet is responding. And yet the government actually presented a statement, and you are responding to the same statement that the government actually placed on the House. How is that being numb? We are not numb. The statement was given by the minister, which you are responding to. So is the leader of opposition in order to call this government numb and unresponsive? Thank you.
Honorable members, I wonder why you're raising your voices. We've agreed, let's use parliamentary language. And my brother Mpuuga, by the way, is one of the most disciplined persons. And I know you will use parliamentary language. Please use the parliamentary language for us to achieve what we want. But as far as I know, this team is not numb.
Right, Honourable Speaker.
Use another one, not numb.
Right, Honourable Speaker. I do concede to the fact that English is a second language to all of us. But I'm not numb to the feelings of members when I use a word not they are accustomed to. The other meaning.
Honorable Mpuuga.
The other meaning of.
Honorable Mpuuga. Honorable Mpuuga, in the interest of peace, I know you're a peace-loving person. Get that word. It costs you nothing. It costs you nothing. These are your colleagues, your best friends. And I don't want you people to pretend like you're not friends. These are your best friends.
Right, Honourable Speaker. I want to assure the Honourable Member that the word numb is not insultive.
Please, I'm not telling you to defend.
It is descriptive of situations. And I want to invite members to be calm about, and they'll be free to respond to my statements, because
Honorable Mpuuga, Matthias, you're addressing one of your best friends. You're addressing one of your in-law, Muhoozi, and you're telling your in-law you're numb.
Right, Honourable Speaker. I will recollect the phrase and paragraph where I used the word and try to hazard an alternative. Clearly, right, Honourable Speaker, if we continue with this lethargic approach, we will not get an answer from this government that is insensitive and unresponsive to the needs of the people. Under the law, right, Honourable Speaker, states not only have.
There's a procedural matter.
Madam Speaker, with due respect to the law, and history says, Madam Speaker, need protection from the Member of Parliament from Nansana.
It's okay. You did not carry that seat from Nansana.
Madam Speaker, history of this country, all leaders of opposition have ranked Honorable Mpuuga Matthias as the best law so far Parliament of Uganda has ever had since independence. Madam Speaker, basing on that, I don't know whether we are proceeding well by Honorable Mpuuga placing English words in jargon to disorganize us by not using the English language but the English, so that he calls the government a failure of the day. Madam Speaker, I don't know whether we are proceeding well.
Honorable Macho, I am aware that you've not worked with any leader of opposition during independence and whichever. I know you've only worked with the two leaders of opposition, 2 or 3. So, anyway, Matthias addressed the House and addressed it with dignity, with the parliamentary language, and with respect for your colleagues, and respect for everybody.
Right, Honourable Speaker, I want to assure the House of my utmost considered respect, and I should not in any way, under any terms, be deemed to be disrespectful of colleagues. Right, Honourable Speaker, I desire that that assurance rests with every spirit. Right, Honourable Speaker, under the law, states only have to refrain from intentional and unlawful deprivation of life, but must also take appropriate steps to safeguard the lives of those within their jurisdiction. In respect of the right, as a party is duty bound to respect and ensure protection of individual rights. It's imperative, right, Honourable Speaker, to note that it is an obligation of states to establish effective facilities and procedures to investigate killings and cases of missing or disappeared persons in circumstances that may involve violation of the right to life. Right, Honourable Speaker, I'm going to lay a series of attachments after my presentation, and one of them is a reference to Article 2 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights and the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, to which Uganda is a party and therefore bound. Right, Honourable Speaker and colleagues, the responsibility of the state to proceed with an effective investigation is engaged, even when there is no evidence that agents of the state have been implicated in the killing or disappearance, and even if members of the victim's family or others have not lodged a formal complaint about the killing with the authorities. This duty is more stringent when the disappeared person was first held in state custody. In such circumstances, it is incumbent upon the state to provide a plausible explanation as to the detainee's fate, as well as to ensure that some form of independent monitoring was undertaken. During the time we have been away, Right Honourable Speaker, from plenary, we have managed to reach out to families of the missing persons. Their revelations are quite touching and detail very well the state offices they have approached and how they reacted to their approach. Right Honourable Speaker, I'm going to lay videos of this for your consideration, and it will have house properly should there be need to make a reference. I'm going to lay them. In light, I will highlight
you lay the video evidence after I've looked at it personally as the presiding officer in my office.
Right, Speaker,
and you will bring it.
that's why I not made a prayer to play it,
Okay.
but make it available as house property
Okay.
for your consideration. I will highlight some of the cases that clearly indicate glaring contradictions in the statement presented by the minister vis-a-vis statements obtained from the police, witnesses, and other state departments. I'll make a few highlights, not the entire 18. Let me sample for the House to make a judgment. Case 1, that of Damulira John. Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues, the minister has presented a report indicating that Damulira John is not among the people in government custody. Contrary to what the minister stated in his report, Damulira's disappearance was reported to police and an SD reference was obtained to that effect. I have indicated this, Right Honourable Speaker. Contrary to what the minister stated, Damulira's data is well captured with the NIRA and that number. He had a national ID and voter location slip. Right Honourable Speaker, we should also note that at this stage, that the case of Damulira John, just like many other cases of enforced disappearances, was reported to police, and the police was on record admitting his arrest and detention. On 22nd November 2020, Mr. Patrick Onyango, the spokesperson of Kampala Metropolitan Police, confirmed Mr. Damulira's arrest and several others on allegations of participating in protests around the Kampala metropolitan area, but denied torturing the suspects. And I quote him, "It is true, Damulira John is one of the people we arrested, but I cannot tell you where he and others are detained now. We did not torture any person. And as an institution, torture is prohibited as a form of interrogation." The Daily Monitor of 22nd November quote Mr. Onyango confirming detaining Mr. Damulira John. Right Honourable Speaker, Damulira John's matter has been investigated by the Uganda Human Rights Commission, the Central Regional Office, and in a letter referenced, quoted, and dated 9th December 2020, addressed to the CMI, indicated that the Commission carried out investigation at Central Police Station in Kampala, and it was established that the victim, Damulira John, is being detained at CMI Kampala. Right Honourable Speaker, that's correspondence between the Human Rights Commission and the Uganda Police. Right Honourable Speaker, for your information and the information of members, the relatives of Damulira John on 11th January 2021 reported this matter to State House as well, who in turn forwarded the same to the Uganda Human Rights Commission for further management. I have attached correspondence between the police and the Uganda Human Rights Commission on the arrest of Damulira. Mr. Speaker, invariably, this is a matter in dispute, and we have situated Damulira at CMI. Honourable Speaker, John Bosco Kibalama. The Minister denies knowledge of the holding point of John Bosco Kibalama, which contravenes what the Prime Minister, Right Honourable Nabanja, asserted during the press interview in the corridors of Parliament. She had this to say: "But we are fortunate that Kibalama was traced. He was arrested, and recently in October in a place called Kakiri, and he is one of those that killed. He is claimed to have killed the police officers in Mpuuga and other places." Honourable Speaker, a missing person case for Kibalama was at Nakanyonyi police station under that reference a day after his abduction on June 3rd, 2019, discrediting the minister's narrative that the family did not contact the police for any remedy. Honourable Speaker and colleagues, the Deputy Attorney General of the Honourable Jackson Kafuzi featured on NBS TV talk show The Frontline and tried to spin the Prime Minister and Honourable Nabanja's narrative by insinuating that the Kibalama she referred to is the founding member of NURP party, who is Moses Ngongo Kibalama. Honourable Speaker and colleagues, when the Honourable Kafuz was challenged by the show host, who replayed the Honourable Nabanja's bite, he rephrased this statement and said she misspoke. I don't know what that means. Honourable Speaker and colleagues, these ping-pong games by government officials should concern every right-thinking person. The attempt at this spin clearly shows how sections of the ruling party hold Ugandans in contempt and will not stop at anything to show disdain for them. The Prime Minister is on record of Parliament over her total knowledge as to the arrest and whereabouts of Kibalama, and we took her for her statement on record. Honourable Speaker, Mr. Kibalama was fully situated. Top government officials are aware of his whereabouts and how they handled his arrest. Honourable Speaker, the case of Mr. Wangolo Dennis, I am sampling a few for the attention of the House. Mr. Wangolo was picked from his workplace at Chebando taxi stage and bundled into a drone alongside 5 others, namely Nwagaba, Katende Bernard, Samba Silas, Kasato, and Zimla Dennis. The abductees were taken to Kakiri Army Barracks, where they were tortured, and they fully released save for Zimla and Wangolo. This abduction was witnessed.
Excuse me, young, please first come back, huh? Come back. Sorry. I didn't want these leaders of Uganda to live without being recognized. In the public gallery this afternoon, we have pupils and teachers of Albert Cook Memorial School from Kasanda District, represented by Honorable Patrick Samba Oshabe. Please stand up. Your member of Parliament, where is Honorable Oshabe? And your member of Parliament is around, is just very busy. He's always very busy, but he's a good member. And represented by Nabagabe Lule Flavia. Thank you so much for coming, and come again. Join me in welcoming them. Okay.
Right, Honourable Speaker, allow me to correct the record here in the names I read out. The names were Nwagaba.
Honorable, sorry for the interruption. I know these children are going very far. In the public gallery this afternoon, we have teachers and pupils of Hayden Nursery and Primary School from Nachifuma County, Mukono. They are represented by Honorable Simbwa. Where is Honorable Simbwa? And Honorable Anifa Nabukera. Honorable Nabukera, you're welcome. And thank you so much. Thank you for coming. Come again. And you have very good members. No?
Right on, Speaker, I was praying to correct the record on the Hansard that the names were Nwagaba, Katende Bernard, Sambwa Cyrus Kasato, and Zimla Dennis. Sambwa Kasato is one person, Mr. Speaker.
Okay.
The abductees were taken to Kakiri Army Barracks, where they were tortured, and the 4 released the cell for Zimla and Wangolo. This abduction was witnessed by the area residents and an authoritative source, the Elson chairperson, Mr. Mwanje Richard. Mr. Speaker, neither records have proved the existence of Mr. Wangolo, contrary to the minister's claim that he is fictitious, that he has never existed. Last, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Semuddu Michael Jackson. The kidnap case of Mr. Semuddu was reported by his relative, Mr. Kafero Michael, at Old Kampala Police Station under that reference on 26th of November 2020. His credentials at NIRA show that he was registered under that number. Right, Honourable Speaker, I sampled this to tell you, to settle the matter that the victims of disappearance were fictitious, and the prayer you shall make to this house subsequently will be to eventually have occasion to situate and locate the others and confirm their existence, including the video clips I'll submit for the attention of the house. Right, Honourable Speaker, excuse me. Officials of government claiming responsibility for missing persons. Right, Honourable Speaker, I also bring to your attention that of the House that some government leaders, including cabinet ministers, such as the Honourable Judith Nabakoba, on record claiming responsibility for some of the missing persons. During a church service at St. Andrew's Cathedral, Namukozi in Mityana, in the presence of the Archbishop of the Church of Uganda, the Honourable Nabakoba said she was aware of some opposition supporters who were abducted during elections. And when the families of these people approached her at home in Kalangalo, she was able to secure the freedom of the victims from Mukireka SIU. She comes as a very useful witness in establishing the security layers involved in committing these heinous crimes. Right, Honourable Speaker. And I will submit a video and voice record on that matter. Right, Honourable Speaker. Right, Honourable Speaker, in answer, Yusuf Mugaga, an NRM leader, is implicated by the community in several abduction cases. He offered to secure Mustafa Luemba's freedom in exchange for a fee from his relatives. He went on to produce Luemba's national ID to demonstrate that he knew where he was being held. Mr. Yusuf Mugaga has accomplices at room 18 at CPS Kampala building, where they coordinated the ransom and abduction conspiracies. The other officials implicated in the conspiracies are Champs Sub-County Giso, Mr. Swipe, Mr. Kafuma Twaha, chairperson of Kabembe, the former minister Ronald Chibule, and the former RDC Fred Bamwine, among others. Right, Honourable Speaker. Right, Honourable Speaker, the House should use this information to interrogate the activities of these individuals and come to a conclusion as to their role, whether they are being helpful or conspirators. Right, Honourable Speaker. Right, Honourable Speaker, on claims that security forces use reasonable force during operations. On countless occasions, security forces have been captured on camera, sharing and beating up subdued non-combatants. On November 6, 2022, heavily armed security operatives cruising a numberless Toyota Hiace minivan famously known as a drone sealed off Gladiator Paradise in Masanaf, Lubaga Division, where they indiscriminately beat up revelers who were watching a Premier League football match. In the scuffle, Kavuma Jamshid, a member of the security detail of the opposition NUP party president, was subdued, handcuffed, and shot as he inquired about the basis of his arrest. I referred the House to the BBC documentary entitled Drones, Vans Take People Away, dated 13 February 2023. I have attached the record, Madam Speaker. On November 18, 2021, Madam Speaker, Sheikh Chilevu Muslim Khalid was subdued as recounted by his wives, Amina Nabada and Sophia Nakacho, handcuffed and shot dead. In sight of his children, despite peacefully submitting to the vetting officers to take him for prosecution. I refer the House to the RN report titled Family Disputes Police Narrative on Killed Sheikh Chilevu. Mr. Speaker, the evidence of his killing was all over the place and the circumstances. On May 8, 2023, Hamid Muyodi, an NUP supporter, was shot in the thigh inside a Toyota Hiace minivan that contained JAT officers who had come to arrest him for unsubstantiated allegations. The security officer who shot Muyodi was neither charged nor court-martialed as demanded by the law. But the Kampala Metropolitan Police spokesperson, Luko Wesijire, described the tragedy as an accident. Right, Honourable Speaker, we're waiting for a report of the occurrence of that accident inside the van. Right, Honourable Speaker, not forgetting the March 2019 extrajudicial murder of Ronald Sebulime, who was handcuffed and shot while in the custody of police in a police patrol, alongside several security-inspired terror against members of the Fourth Estate, the media, and the peaceful protesting media, medical interns, and doctors that have occupied a fair share of this year. The excess brutality meted out on minors found at the Kawempe residence of Sheikh Yunus Kamoga is still fresh in our minds, Right Honourable Speaker. Relying on some of these cited incidents, Right Honourable Speaker, therefore, I strongly reject the position of government that security forces use reasonable force when conducting operations. I therefore insist that our report highlighting the security excesses was factual and premised on precedents, accounts of witnesses, and other credible sources who preferred anonymity for fear of reprisal, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues, on the issue of compensation talked about or mentioned in the report, it is on record that General Museveni pledged to compensate the bereaved families of some of the victims of the November 2020 riots, especially those he had categorized as non-rioters. 3 years later, nothing in that regard has been effected. He listed 3 names of the then missing 177 persons and directed his intelligence to publish the full list, a directive that has since been defied and downplayed. The report on November 2020 killings remains concealed from the public, to whom government should be accountable. Right Honourable Speaker, I have attached the record of the 18 November Human Rights Watch report entitled 1 Year Later, No Justice for Victims of Uganda's Lethal Crackdown. I've also attached a video evidence of the Commander-in-Chief directing the publication of that list, which has never appeared up to now. Right Honourable Speaker, at a November 2022 UN Geneva Convention, the Attorney General of Uganda, the Honourable Kiwa Chwanuka, a man I hold in very high regard, lied before the delegates that they had compensated some victims of protests, and they went on to cite Honourable Zake Francis and exiled NUP journalist Ashraf Kassidye as beneficiaries of the compensation scheme. On the contrary, the duo have publicly denied ever getting any penny from the government as compensation for the bodily harm they suffered at the hands of security. Madam Speaker, I want to confirm on record that I was the attorney for Kassidye, and therefore his matter has never been compensated. His matter was handled by Justice Ssegona, and the state has been playing games since. So it's never been conclusive, and so therefore no compensation. Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues, it is only through relentless efforts that some families of the deceased 15-year-old Amos Segawa have been awarded some meager compensation. Ms. Nachito, the mother, was awarded by Justice Musa Ssegona 50 million shillings, which she complained to be too small for the life of her son, whose right to life was denied by the two-day November 2020 shooting spree. So I further have attacked the ruling in Ms. Jan's cause number 011122 of 2021, Hajara Nachito versus the Attorney General. It's full attached, Right Honourable Speaker. Therefore, Right Honourable Speaker, the claims that government has compensated the victims of the November 2020 protests are delusional and a naked lie that even the families of the victims can attest to. Therefore, it should not be kept on the record of Parliament, Right Honourable Speaker. Those who will come after us will never understand how we had that on record. Right Honourable Speaker, detecting registration number plates of vehicles with security missions. Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues, I find it totally impractical that the government, as by its statement, expects people to take records of registration number plates in tense circumstances when masked men, gunmen in drones have their fingers read on the trigger. In July this year, security personnel of the Chief Military Intelligence traveling in a drone shot dead a 34-year-old Jacqueline Narwanga, a resident of Nakabogo village in Wakiso district. The deceased was on her way to her garden when she found herself entangled in a security operation and was killed just because she was about to witness an abduction operation. This implies that even if she had taken a record of the security vehicle, she would have been unable to she would be unable to live to tell the story as a witness. I refer the House to the July 25th, 2023 Daily Monitor report, which I have attached, entitled "Army Stray Bullets Kill Woman Going to Her Garden." Besides, security is fond of switching registration number plates upon accomplishing their missions. Right Honourable Speaker, this was evident in the tenure of Major General Muzei Sabiti as the Deputy Inspector General of Government, or Inspector General of Police, when his vehicle number plate was switched to a Toyota Hiace drone for an operation. This is the Deputy IGP switching number plates. Right Honourable Speaker. The police spokesperson Fred Enanga came out in defense of the saga and stated that it is their tendency as security to switch number plates depending on the magnitude of the operation they intend to conduct. I also reflect on the various by-elections like Omoro, Soroti, Bukedi, among others, where security forces concealed their vehicle number plates with cow dung to evade detection.
Were you in Bukedia to say that? Remove Bukedia from your list.
Right Honourable Speaker, the House receives a record for their processing, and the House will take occasion to consider what they drop and what they keep with your indulgence.
Much as I'm not supposed to defend my district, I am defending Bukedia was not involved.
Right Honourable Speaker, the House will take a record.
Yes,
and I'll make a determination.
Yes,
Right Honourable, this is the House of Record, being Parliament. I rarely interrupt very decent men like Honourable Mpuuga. But listening to him and reading through, I'm wondering whether it's a rejoinder or a new statement. Because, and some of the people whom I don't want to put on record, like now, Bukedeya, can he refer to which page did the minister indicate? Because rejoinder, you don't bring new things. But there are a number of new things that has been brought. Now, like on this one, cow dung and when a dung is on the number plate, you may not even know whether it's a human dung or a cow dung. Going into the specific, which page?
Honorable
Rejoinder,
Law, you're making a rejoinder on what the minister responded to. And in the report of the minister, I did not see my district. And I'm a woman member of parliament for that district. I will defend it to the latter.
Right, Honourable Speaker.
Let's talk about abducted people, because there's nobody abducted from Bukedea.
Honourable Speaker, the beauty is that I went to the same law school we went to, and we all understand the concepts of rejoinders. He's just trying to divert me from presenting this, and I know his game. He's serious at what he's doing, but I want to assure him that I'm equally serious.
Honorable Bukedea was not included. You withdraw Bukedea.
Right, Honourable Speaker. The whole idea,
Lob,
that's
you listen to your attorney. Bukedea was not involved. Let's not go into something.
Right, Honourable Speaker, for the sake of tranquility and peace, and to avoid interruption by all who is deliberate on disrupting my presentation, we shall use the other examples and drop Bukedea. Right, Honourable Speaker.
So you've withdrawn Bukedea?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, no, yes, withdrawn Bukedea. Honorable members, let's sit, let's wait. Honorable members, Honorable,
Madam Speaker, I also want to go on record. No, Madam Speaker, I also want to...
Honorable members, Honorable Gwang, first sit. Honorable Gwang, first sit. All of you sit. All of you sit. All of you. And I am reminding you this. If I see you standing more than 2 times, I'll get you out. Honorable Lob, as we've agreed, don't bring in some things that will anger some people. Let's talk about the 18 people, the shrinking space, all those kind of things. You read your statement.
Right, Honourable Speaker, I want to assure the House that I'm very methodical.
And members, I will give you time to debate. I'll give you members.
I want to assure the House that I'm very methodical. And if you really, if it does please you, right, Honourable Speaker, I would play you evidence of everything I'm talking about. Otherwise,
can we go to your report?
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I can understand the discomfort
and I want
this rejoinder is bringing. Right, Honourable Speaker.
Procedural matter.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, the issue, Honourable OO raised a pertinent issue on the rejoinder. Is indeed procedural right that you give your ruling on the how rejoinders are done, so that this parliament takes a precedent, even for the future, on how we can manage reports and counter reports.
Yes. Another one.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable, she has allowed me to speak. Right Honourable Speaker, we all have senior 6 or equivalent that allows us to be in this house, and therefore we understand English. Right Honourable Speaker, what we expect as a house, that the leader of opposition should respond to what the minister presented on the floor of this house. That's what a rejoinder is. Yes, all of us have been to school. All of us have been to school. And nobody should attempt to take us back to school. So could you guide, Madam Speaker, that the leader of opposition restricts himself to respond to what the Minister of Internal Affairs presented on this floor? But when you start saying the Attorney General was in Geneva and so forth, you're on a fishing expedition. So we want your guidance over that matter, because we are keenly listening and we are going to respond. And we shall respond to what he has brought, not bring new issues.
Honorable
Bring new
members,
issues, yes.
honorable members, now for you, just come. Your children were here looking for you. First, wait. Honorable members, the leader of opposition brought a report to this house, and government was asked to respond item by item. Now, after government responding an item by item, where they felt they were not satisfied with what government responded to, strictly on what was brought on the floor. Strictly on what was brought on the floor. A rejoinder is a response to the response that was given. So the rejoinder that you're giving is responding to what General Muhoozi gave, and strictly it should be to what General Muhoozi gave. Not bringing in the issues of Bukedde, Kaodam. Was that?
Guidance, Madam Speaker. Guidance, Madam Speaker.
Yes, you're conflicted.
Me?
Yes, you first sit. You're making a guidance on my ruling. Okay, let me give Nwagaba to speak, not you.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, and I thank you for your ruling. In a rejoinder like the leader of opposition is making, you are not limited to responding strictly to the response by the other party. But you can, in responding to that response, you can expound. And what the leader of opposition is doing is just expounding when he is rejoining.
Can I have Kiror? Kiror?
I want to...
Kiror?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I want really... You know, when we go to law school, we should not apply the law, understanding of the law selectively. If we choose
to what, benefits you?
That would be very mean of us. We have things, you can be senior, but you have not read the law and understood. You get it? You see? Right Honorable Speaker, I think let's apply the rejoinder in the strict sense. We have chosen to use the word rejoinder. If an application has been filed, and somebody has done a reply to that application, and the court gives you the latitude to do a rejoinder, it is not to open the Pandora box. No. You rejoin to certain specific issues which have been raised in the response, which you want to clarify on. But you don't broaden it. And those are the rules.
Honorable Fox. Fox.
I thank you. I thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Can I have silence?
Right Honorable Speaker, matters of human rights should never divide us. We should all speak with one voice when it comes to matters of human rights. And we should be candid, we should be honest, we should be truthful. Right Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Nwagaba was 1 year behind me at law school. I have known him for a very long time. And the Honorable Nwagaba knows that a rejoinder is restricted to matters already canvassed. The matters must have been dealt with, and you only rejoin to matters that were raised. Right Honorable Speaker, the law...
Fox, is there a difference between a reply and a rejoinder?
Yes, Right Honorable Speaker.
Because what he's talking about is a reply.
Right Honorable Speaker, you are absolutely right. And what we are dealing with this afternoon is a rejoinder. The law, whom I respect immensely, should do us a favor and restrict himself to the matters that the Minister for Internal Affairs raised. Right, Honourable Speaker.
Honourable members, when you're making a reply, you often suggest and make a thorough response for one to believe whatever you're saying. You can even go beyond what was mentioned. That is a reply. But now when you look at a rejoinder, it is restrictive to what was raised, the objective of what was raised. Honorable Loeb, why don't you give your response to what was raised?
Honourable Speaker, thank you. Actually, I can confirm.
I can tell you to stand up.
I can confirm, Right Honourable Speaker, that many a member did not read the minister's statement. In fact, the subtitles I am offering in my rejoinder are picked from the minister's statement. I can confirm they not read it.
You respond to the minister's statement.
And I am surprised that they are supplying the version of this house. Each of these subtitles is picked from the minister's statement.
You respond to the minister's statement.
Yeah, and I would like members to really pay attention. And I'm trying to look for the source of the discomfort, and I'm not getting it. Honourable Speaker.
Please go ahead and reply the minister's statement.
Honourable Speaker.
It's on page 11. You tell them the page where you are.
Trying to remind members that the subtitle I was handling is titled Detecting Registration Number Plates of Vehicles in Situated Missions. Because the minister said that the public is duty bound to detect and report car number plates. And I am reporting a serious disability to the public in detecting this car number plates. Is that an import? It's not an import. So, Right Honourable Speaker, I am responding in very strict terms so that the House can understand the factors under which the minister's demands of the public are improbable and out of space. Right Honourable Speaker, the BBC documentary entitled 3 Killings in Kampala clearly showed clues on the police vehicle that was involved in the murders along Kampala Road in the Central Business District, which is dotted with cameras. If the security cared to apprehend the crew on UP 99917, it was upon them to rely on the CCTV footage to trace the movement of this particular vehicle. The police have the capacity and infrastructure to revisit the CCTV records of November 18th to 20th to detect the route of the killer patrol cited in this documentary. I am privy to the fact that, Right Honourable Speaker, the same security operatives heavily relied on these CCTV records to trace for suspected protesters, as well as crackdown on NUP activists who would later on be disappeared by drones. It is therefore deliberate that security does not track its own errant personnel despite the presence of CCTV equipment to do so. The last time we checked on the killer patrol, UP 99917 was stationed at Katwe Police Station in Kampala. The Internal Affairs Minister should be able to effectively use this information. Right Honourable Speaker, alleged uncooperative attitude of relatives of the missing victims. Right Honourable Speaker, the government indicates that their recently deployed team of detectives disguised themselves as an NGO to retrieve information from relatives of the missing persons. The minister did not satisfactorily delve into the ingredients of what their intelligence NGO obtained from the bereaved families of the missing 18. The details of the identity of the NGO are a mystery, and so is the said report, which I would so wish to be tabled before Parliament. Right Honourable Speaker. The people have always been free to share information, their despair and the agony they are going through in search of their beloved ones, to the extent of visiting the perpetrators at CMI, international bodies like the defunct UNHRC, State House, political party offices, and UNHRC. In the course of seeking redress, Honourable Speaker, they have shared confidential documents and even spoke to the media, invite the House to follow the documentary, The Missing 18, authored by my office, and I have also attached video evidence to ascertain the existence of these families and their willingness to testify to their missing loved ones. Right Honourable Speaker, prosecuting errant officers. The government has been deliberately declining to prosecute errant security officers who commit atrocities, but instead elevates them in rank. Because, Right Honourable Speaker, this response is in part to respond to the minister stating that they have been acting on their errant officers. And we are saying not at all. Instead, they have been promoting them, and by doing so, promoting impunity. For instance, former Masaka RPC Enoch Abayine, who shot and injured the journalist Arasef Kasidi, was transferred and promoted to the environmental police in Luzira. The same Abayine is known to be a Ritho with blood stains in his hands. During the 2017 age limit rally held in Rukongiri, Abayine allegedly shot a 19-year-old man. Instead of being interdicted and apprehended for his deeds, he was in 2018 transferred to Makerere University and promoted to Chief Security Officer. The famous 2011 walk-to-work Besigye Tormentor, United Gilbert, was promoted from ASP to Superintendent of Police, Right Honourable Speaker, as a highlight. Right Honourable Speaker, the command of the infamous Kasese killings, the one Peter Royal, was elevated from brigadier to general, and even sits comfortably with us in Parliament. Right Honourable Speaker, CMI Captain Ewan Bashir Mango, who in January 2022 shot and caused the leg amputation of a traffic police officer, Robert Mukebezi, remains at large, and the EPDF is hesitant in prosecuting him. In fact, the defense spokesperson, Brigadier Fred Kulaji, said they were unable to track down Captain Mango, so he remains at large. As the example of Honourable Speaker, as to how impunity is promoted, the ministers claim that the police driver of truck number UP4841, constable number 39975, Mr. Aktil Nasasira, was apprehended are baseless, as none of the relatives of Rita Nabukenya, who the minister named Nabukera, was informed as required by principles of law and natural justice. The people who witnessed the accident were not interrogated for statements. Police did not go to Malago Hospital, where the deceased's remains were conveyed. Nabukenya's death was a matter of public interest that should have attracted ample press coverage, but there is no record of the said arrest of Atikulu Nasasira. Right Honourable Speaker, that family never received the information. They remain agitated that the government neglected their plea to apprehend the killer of their daughter. Right Honourable Speaker, pre-trial detention. The norm of lengthy detention has become synonymous with the NRM government, Right Honourable Speaker, especially whenever an opposition political activist or Muslim terror suspect is arrested. We established the reason behind these prolonged detentions is to enable the torture victims to have ample time for their physical injuries to heal. We evidenced this in the case of our NUP supporter in Kasese, Samuel Masereka, and of course exiled Ugandan novelist Kakwenza. When their wounds sustained from torture recover, they are presented in court. Though the government report attributes pre-trial detention to the limited human resource in the judiciary, it is illogical and deceitful. We have witnessed situations where high-profile cases involving ministers and government officials, they were cited in the Karamoja Ionishit saga, speedily tried. Yet the same criminal justice system has many times tried the opposition activists after spending more than 48 hours in police custody and safe houses. For instance, Damashid Kavumani's colleagues, who were abducted on November 6, 2022, were arraigned in Mwanga 2 court a month later in December 2022, after a writ of habeas corpus was filed compelling security officers at CMI to panic and drop him at Old Kampala police station. Allegedly, Right Honourable Speaker, a one Sulaiman Jakana Naduli was detained in September 2022 at Makindi military barracks for a prolonged period prior to his arraignment in court in Nakaseke. The detention, according to his family members, deprived him of access to his specialized medication, which eventually caused his death. Right Honourable Speaker, Our findings established that 12 of the persons who were reported missing were arrested on suspicion of having committed several offenses and were either released on police bond or court bail. UHR stated in their report, we are quoting now the UHR report, it was equivocal in their findings. We also informed the House that the UHRC chairperson, Ms. Mariam Wangadia, is on record disclosing her fears and insecurity after asserting that her colleagues carry firearms to in-house meetings. Right, Honourable Speaker and honourable members, how do we be convinced that an insecure chairperson is in the right state of mind to investigate other people's rights violations when her own rights are in contention? Right, Honourable Speaker, on the issue of political prisoners in custody, there are dozens of political prisoners languishing in custody on charges that the state has deliberately failed to conclude due to inadequate evidence. For example, Olivia Lutaya and dozens of opposition NUP supporters are still facing off with the court-martial despite a 2021 Constitutional Court ruling that annulled such trials. On 15th December 2022, Right Honourable Speaker, court ruled that all those persons not subjected to military law and are currently being tried before any military court are ordered that their files be transferred to the civil courts under the direction of the DPP, Right Honourable Speaker. This directive has, however, been disregarded to date, with the political prisoners continuously facing an endless trial and all their bail attempt thwarted, despite presenting substantial sureties who include blood relatives and credible leaders. We call on the Minister of Justice to explain to the country why the General Court-Martial is contemptuous to the Constitutional Court ruling on trial of civilians. I refer the House to the Constitutional Court Petition number 44 of 2015, retired Captain Amos Byarugaba and others versus the Attorney General, Right Honourable Speaker. I have attached that ruling, Right Honourable Speaker.
Uganda Eyenkya.